Designing an entire page can seem very, very daunting simply because there's so much area that you need to fill up. And it can be very tempting to scale everything as large as possible in order to fill out as much of the white and open space that you have. And this is especially true when you've only got just a little bit of information to work on. For instance, you may have one picture, one title, and the subtitle and the author that goes for a book cover. However, you can use the white space and the lack of information to your advantage. White space on a page isn't a bad thing. It's a way of drawing your eye and your attention into what's most important. So let's take stock of what we do have. Well, first of all, we do have the title of our design, Wild Things, so it should be the most important thing than the first thing that I see. I call this my Papa Bear. We also have an image, and this is a pretty good image. There's a lot going on with it, but it's focusing on the chameleon that's on here. We've got a subtitle, and then we've got the author byline down at the very bottom. If I wanted to draw more attention just to this, the most important things I want to draw attention to, of course, will be the title, and then let's see if we can do something better with the photograph. So if I had to redesign this, first off, I'm going to make a quick copy of my page. Let's see what we can do with this page. I'm going to take everything off. Let's start by increasing our white space within our page area. The easiest way to do this in InDesign is to play around with your margins. Right now I've got a margin of about 1/2 inch on all sides. But if I go up to Layout and open my margins and columns, here's where we can start to increase and decrease the amount of space that we have. For instance, let's give ourselves, I'm going to go ahead and lock down everything. And if I start pulling it into over 1 inch on every side, that's going to still keep everything nice and centered, but now I'm giving myself a lot of breathing space on the outer edge. If I wanted to further refine this, maybe I can offset it just a bit because I've got an idea of what I want to do with the image. So I'm going to bring my bottom, let's unlock this. I'm going to bring the bottom and top up just a bit more to give myself some room to work in. Now that I have a wider open area, let's reposition everything to fit inside of this area. The first thing I want to do is let's see if we can also throw on some color and make it pop just a bit more. Right now I've got a white margin, so let's give it some color background to work in. A great way to pick colors from a photograph, if you haven't done this already, is to use your color theme tool. This is located underneath your eyedropper tool. And with the color theme tool, I can click on any image, in this case the image that I'm working with. And when I click on the picture, you can see it will pop out and give me a selections of color that it's finding within that picture. Now if I click on the arrow, you can see I can get a variety of different color swatches based on different types of colors, dark, light, deep, muted. Let's go with these bright colors. I like this. With those selected, I'll hit the little plus sign, and this will add them automatically to my swatches panel, and now I can start using these bright colors within my overall layout. I'll pull this down here, and we'll open up our swatches panel on the side so I can see it with this. Now let's start placing everything inside of this design and using our colors. I'll grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to place a rectangle inside of my framed margin and give myself just a colorful background. Automatically my eye is drawn into this central area. Now I'm going to keep it nice and neutral, so with that maybe we'll change it over to, let's go with the lighter version of that color. If I needed to, I could make it even lighter by setting the tint to be down just a bit more. I don't want it to conflict with any of the stronger stuff that's in the front there. We can play around with the text by placing the text inside of this area. Do make sure it's nice and readable, so if I've got light text on a light background, that's not going to show up, but if I have darker text, something that's, let's see, we'll go with something like this, that tends to show up much, much better. I don't even have to stick with my central alignment of everything. I can throw this over to a left or a right side, and it still reads really, really well. If anything, I can now make things much larger to fill out that particular part of the area. Let's do the same for the subtitle. We'll bring it to the front, reptiles and snakes. Maybe I'll have "and" on that side. We'll set that to be a dark green. I like that. See how big we can get away with that. Snakes for kids. Let Snake Guide be that large. And let's adjust the leading to bring it in. Whatever fits for your design. As far as the byline goes for the author, you don't have to stick with it being at the very bottom. Now this would be a quick and convenient way of having everything nice and lined up, but there's no rules that say this has to be up at the very top. If anything, if we put it up at the top and still float everything to our left aligned edge, we can change the color of it to match everything else, and it's still got a good set of hierarchy. That's the largest thing, capturing my attention, nice, bold subtitle, and then the undertitle is set for that there. Just in looking at this, maybe there's one other tweak that I want to make. Instead of this being brown, I'll set it off to be a darker, richer color, because I do want it to be nice and bold and usable. I think that looks much better for there. So a snake and reptile guide, what can we do with the picture? Here's where breaking the margin comes in. I still don't have a lot of area to place this picture, but maybe I can use this image to have him go outside into this margin. By doing that, we need to open this image up and edit it in Photoshop. Now I could go into Photoshop or find the original image and open it in Photoshop, but if you're in InDesign, you can right click or control click on a picture and then choose Edit With and then choose Photoshop. This will automatically open your image up into Photoshop. Now we can use our technique of isolating the image and removing the background. Since I've covered this in a previous video, I'm going to go through this process very quickly. But in short, all I'm going to do is make a selection of my main character. In this case, it's going to be the chameleon and also the branch, since he's sitting on the branch. And I'll create a layer mask to this layer that will get rid of the entire background. Now with this done, let's go up to File and Save As and save it as a Photoshop file. I'll call this New Reptile. When we jump back into our InDesign document, I'll replace my existing image by selecting the image and going down to File and Place and choosing my new Photoshop document. With it selected, I do need to make sure that my inside frame has a color, fill color set to none, and now I can use my little image inside of here. Another issue is notice how my image is very pixelated. In order for this to render quickly, it's giving me a lower quality version of it. I want to be able to see this in full quality. To do that, go up to View, down to Screen Mode, go down to Display Performance and choose High Quality Display. And this will give you a higher quality image that you can now pull from. Now I've got an image that incorporates my picture, it's breaking into this margin, and it's much more visually enhanced. If I need to, I can see where I need to clean up maybe my edit. I can always go back in and place this and fix the layer mask that I have for here. The main thing is, I've got one image that breaks into the margin, and it can do this because I've got very nice, wide, thick margins where my title is central to the theme. When you compare this design with my original, it's much more dynamic, much more interesting, and it focuses in on what's most important for my overall design. So this is a technique I would like to see you use somewhere in this week's projects. Please note, this may not be appropriate for every particular image. This specifically works if you've got a picture of something that you can easily outline and crop and cut out. However, if you can use it, it is a very powerful, great little tool to have in your arsenal.